Dudes, it's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. So we got an updated meta arbitration guide for 2025 here, and with these methods that were in previous videos, but just more power creep now, you will be getting up to 200,000 Kuva per hour in the right missions. So we'll be explaining how you could do this meta arbitration today. Builds for all the frames I'd recommend, pretty much, and unnecessary levels of min-maxing. So let's get right into it. Before we do, make sure to sub this channel, do daily Warframe video uploads, build videos, news videos, discussion videos, strategy guides, all that kind of stuff. You're in the right place for Warframe content. And yeah, we did do all these runs on stream too, so once you get more into the meta of arbitrations, you can even run them with me on stream if you'd like, if you're all set up. So let's get right into getting you all set up for these meta arbitrations in Warframe 2025. Okay, so what's changed? Honestly, not a whole lot. The biggest thing that's changed with Warframe meta arbitrations is that we have a new arcane that is extremely, extremely good. It's called Arcane Bellicose, and it comes from the new tile set, Halvania 1999. That arcane gives you increased power strength depending on how much HP you have. And since we are running a Wisp on our team, if you have a very, very strong Wisp, you can give everyone on your team 72% extra power strength just for standing there. So, yeah, it makes these really crazy power buffed builds better than ever and also easier than ever too. So, let's hop right into the builds. And I always show you a point of view of a DPS player, which you're seeing right now. And I'll show you a support player once we're talking about Wisp later, because Wisp is actually support. Funny thing, we are so meta AoE spam right now, there's not enough enemies for 4 players. There's enough enemies for like 1.5 players, more like 2 players, so yeah. Alright, so let's start things off with DPS. The DPS players for my strategy are going to be Mirage and Saryn. Why Mirage and Saryn? Well, Saryn's 3 is really, really good with Nightwatch Napalm, the augment of the Ogris, and Mirage gets illusions that fire more rockets. Also, Mirage can use the Eclipse buff to get big damage buffs to her whole team with a Total Eclipse augment. As far as support players, we are using the Kuva Ogris as our main DPS weapon, which is a rocket launcher with bad magazine, bad reload, bad ammo pool, and other issues too. So we want to have ways to buff that ammo pool and reload. So we're using frames as our supports like Chroma and Volt, and then also Wisp, because we have to jump across the map and grab this loot really quickly. The faster we grab the loot, the better we can get back to our DPS spot and get more loot. Keep in mind too, this Vitus Essence from these arbitration missions does despawn, so be careful about that and probably pick it up like constantly, honestly. I was having it despawn in like I went to the restroom for one. I was playing, honestly, when you're playing Wisp, you just go to the restroom and stuff. I was going to the restroom, I was gone for about a minute, and I had Vitus despawn, so it being like a 5-minute time or whatever, that just varies how much loot's on the actual map, okay? So we've established that we're going to be wanting to buff our reload and buff our ammo pools and also buffing our movement speed to pick up this loot so it doesn't despawn. So let's start off with the first DPS loadout. We're going to show Saryn first, okay? I'll show Mirage after that, and we'll show Wisp and Volt and Chroma. Because Volt and Chroma are actually interchangeable. There's times you'd want Chroma, there's times you want Volt, vice versa. Also, we're going to show some Specters too, because that's pretty important. Okay, so let's start off with the first DPS frame here. I've got Saryn equipped. I was going to do Mirage first, but Saryn first is fine. So the big thing about Saryn here is we're using her third ability, Venom Dose, or Toxic Lash, and then we're using the Venom Dose Augment for some big damage buffs. Additionally, we're using the Energized Munitions Helmet ability to not drain our magazine. So I fire the Ogris normal, it's 1 rocket per shot. I use Energized Munitions. It sometimes consumes rockets. So unless you spam your rocket launcher a lot more. I'm going to recommend that helmet ability on Mirage and Saryn. Now, you could use Nourish on one of them to buff it up, but honestly, we're doing so much damage, Nourish isn't necessary. So showing how this works against some enemies. Keep in mind, these guys are Steel Path, okay? Arbitrations are not Steel Path yet. They're probably not going to be ever. But yes, these enemies you're seeing right here are more tanky than enemies we'll be fighting in the actual mission, guys. So if you want to test your builds, go ahead and turn that Steel Path modifier off, okay? So now that we turn the Steel Path off, let's see how much better that rocket looks against these guys. So as you can see, a lot better. So if we throw in some more damage buffs from our teammates, it will be a one-shot. And that's what we want. We want to kill the enemies as quick as possible. So when the arbitration drones spawn, they will die instantly and give us that loot, okay? So starting off with my Saryn build here. I've got my normal, I don't have an extra Saryn for this. It's my normal Saryn that I use for every mission. We've got green Emerald Tau Shards for Toxin proc damage increase. Pretty good. It scales pretty hard with these third ability Toxic Lash, rockets were firing off, and since we're firing so many of them under his missions, we cover the entire map in very, very powerful toxin procs. Additionally, Spores is not, so a lot of you guys want to understand this. We don't use the Spores to kill enemies, we use the Spores as a damage buff for our weapons, okay? We're using the augment called Venom Dose. And by the way, some of these mods are pretty much essential on here. We're using the mod called Venom Dose to make our weapons get corrosive damage buff. Additionally, Contagion Cloud's pretty decent too. Whenever you kill an enemy, it will create a Toxin Cloud on there where they died, which can help you know where enemies are spawning at. Not super necessary though. But yeah, as far as the build, now the mods you do need, there is no question about it, you need power donation, okay? This is a not solo method. This is a team method I'm giving you today, and with that, you must have this augment, or this aura. Why is that? You lose 30% power strength, but your squad mates get 30% power strength. So if you have 4 players with this, everybody is netting positive 90% power strength. So, yeah. That's it. If you have 4 of these, it's great. If you don't have 4 of these, it's not as good. So you want to have 4 of these on your team. As far as the rest of the build, besides the augments and aura, we got prime sure-footed, not get knocked over. We are spamming rocket launchers as much as we possibly can. So if you don't have this, you have to find another way to not get knocked over, because it's going to be pretty annoying. So you can throw in like a Dante Specter for some overguard, or maybe use secondary fortifier on your pistol and hit 1 Eximus to get some overguard, and you won't get knocked over, but that's going to be more conditional for sure. The rest of our stuff is duration and strength, because that's what we need to spam our rockets. So power strength to buff Venom Dose and Toxic Lash, duration to buff Energized Munitions. The longer we have for duration, the more we can spam rockets, basically, without having to recast. So with this build, 14.1 seconds of infinite rockets, basically, or near infinite rockets. And then the big thing here, guys, the new Arcane Bellicose. Gain 6% ability strength for every 250 max health you have at 72%. So you need about 3,000 health from your Wisp motes to get, or total from your Wisp motes and your build to get this. So the Wisp needs to be very, very strong. Again, if you don't have these and what we show Spectre-wise for Wisp, you probably shouldn't play Wisp because your Wisp will not be full power, okay? But yeah, as far as Saryn here, just big power strength to buff up like crazy. And as far as the Ogris, I will tell you right now, the Ogris element does not really matter. I'd go with a cold one for easy toxin on Saryn, or sorry, easy viral on Saryn, but we are doing so much damage. The element doesn't actually matter. What does matter is that you have the Ogris in the first place, and preferably 60%. So any of these 4 ones right here would be totally fine. Toxin, heat, cold, radiation. I even had an impact when I've used an Arby's before. It really doesn't matter, guys. All that matters is that you have the Ogris, and it's as high percent as you can get. So here's the cold Ogris right now. As far as the build, this is my build on Saryn. But keep in mind, if you're not playing Saryn, and also in general, I would recommend you actually put a magazine size mod in here. If you don't have a magazine size mod, it makes spamming the rocket launcher not as fun. So find some room for this. Maybe take off Infected Clip, honestly. And I also got a new rivet recently I had to test out. But yeah, big thing here. Make sure you have some magazine size on there if you can fit it on. Maybe throw a dash 30. So we go from 3 rockets to 5 rockets. Now we can spam our rocket launcher a lot more. So I would probably need a form of that to fit it on. But yeah, ammo drum for increased ammo mechanism, magazine warp to spam more rockets, and then everything else is just going to be to get good coverage on the map. So we get heavy caliber to spread the rockets out more. So the accuracy is actually good. The mod's accuracy is good in the situation where it's going to cover more area of the map. Additionally, primed Bane of the Grenier. When you are doing an arbitration mission, the factions of the drones are going to match the faction of the mission you're in. So when I'm doing this Grenier mission in the background, I have a Bane of the Grenier mod on my Ogris, okay, and it does work on the drones. And I would also change, if I'm going to a infested arbitration or a Corpus one, I would change my Bane of the Grenier to Bane of the Infested or Bane of the Corpus. If you don't have those mods, it is a little bit annoying. You definitely do want to have those mods maxed out, preferably for DPS players. But if you only have normal Bane of the Grenier, I guess that's fine. It won't be as meta, unfortunately. So yeah, make sure you change your Prime Bane mod to the faction you're fighting for the best results. And the rest of the stuff, big AoE coverage, Prime Firestorm, and you want Nightwatch Napalm Augment to drop fire on the ground. I'm gonna show you a method of making this basically not blinding you, but it is very, very nice to have it, even if it is blinding you with the energy color. Okay, so what I'm gonna tell you about right now is that, see my Ogris, you might notice there is no fire on the ground. What I did to make that fire not blinding is I went to the energy color options and I made them basically invisible. It's basically a smoke palette bottom left corner. You can also go to your effects intensity in the settings, that button, and then you search effects, put this at like the lowest it can go, basically. That's gonna make it where your Ogris is basically invisible and you can spam rockets and not hurt your eyes pretty much. So this in practice, we just spam our rocket. Now we would have Wisp motes too. So we'd be spamming it all. We'd be spamming at the spawn spots, basically. Say they spawn in that door right there, spam Ogris there, spam the Ogris in that spawn spot too. That's your job as a DPS player, is to kill every spawn as they spawn, basically. As far as the focus and melee, you don't really need the melee, but you do want to, if you can, get a Predasite with increased parkour velocity. For Zeteric, you could use Zeteric to give everyone 20% more power strength if you're not fully buffed yet. Hardened Wellspring gives everybody 20% power strength, which is pretty nice. Every little bit of power strength will help in this kind of build setup. So yeah, we just drop that, because we will be camping for this too, so it kind of helps to have that as a little bit extra of a buff. Because it's like, when you're playing support, you're just kind of standing there doing nothing, so having someone with that is a nice little thing to do as they're pretty much doing nothing. Now, for our companion, for Saryn, we got the Pharaoh Predasite. If you watch my videos on the Pharaoh Predasite, you know how crazy strong this thing is on the current patch. But if you haven't watched my videos on it, we've got a build right here with Anabolic Pollination. This will buff you and your teammates for more toxin damage. Makes your Ogris even stronger. It also makes Saryn a lot stronger too. Unless they changed that with the recent hotfix, not sure. But yeah, as far as the build, the biggest things you need here is going to be Anabolic Pollination if you're playing the Pharaoh Predasite, and Resourceful Retriever. This gives you a chance to double the Vitus. This is how you can get 1,000 plus Vitus in a couple of hours. So if you don't have this, you need to get this. Like, not even a question, you have to get this. If you really refuse to, there is a less good version of it called Loyal Retriever, which is a 13% chance to double up your drops, but it works on credits too. This one only works on resource, but it's 18% chance to drop it, to double it. So I'd highly recommend this. I also highly recommend you get one of your teammates gets a resource drop chance booster. The Vitus has a chance to drop. It's not guaranteed to drop. So if you have this, it's a better drop rate. Also, if you're MR30, go to the relay and get the resource drop chance relay blessing for additional drops as well. As far as the rest of the stuff on the build, though, we just want the dog not to die, and also reinforced bond to give us more fight rate. We reload pretty often, even with the infinite rockets, so this will get the overguard there the overshield there pretty easily. Although this dog can already do this with calculated redirection. The claws don't matter at all. Just make sure you have elusive posture there so it doesn't run around and attack the enemies that are going to die instantly. Okay, so that's enough for Saryn. Let's move on to the next frame here, Mirage. Now, Mirage would be a very similar build to Saryn, but instead on Mirage, we're going to be basically... Well, actually, I have an RB load up for this now. So instead of Mirage, you will not be modding for toxin as much, you'll be modding more for raw damage. Now, as far as the build on Mirage, the second damage dealer, that's the wrong build. Here's the right build. We got power donation again, as I stated. And also, everyone will have arcane bellicose because it will be maxed out for everyone when the Wisp is maxed out. So as far as the build here, very similar to the Saryn build, but we got different augments, to be honest. We got Total Eclipse to give everybody in our team a damage buff from Mirage. 15 meters at default. With this range, it should be pretty good to cover the area. And then also Hall of Malevolence. Augment, whenever the enemies die to your doppelgangers, it will increase the damage of your doppelgangers. So pretty good just to have a bunch of extra damage getting thrown out there. You don't need this mod, but it is kind of nice sometimes. But as you can see, pretty much the exact same build on Mirage as we had on Saryn, and it'll be pretty much the same thing on the rocket launcher too. So as you can see right here, pretty similar build. I'm not even sure which Ogris is. This is a Toxic Ogris. Okay, so pretty similar stuff, but as you can see, I actually have Magazine Warp on here, and it's not a messed up build. But I would recommend Ammo Drum over Vigilante Supplies because you don't really need the crits. And as far as the Arcane, Merciless feels like the best, although Fractalized Reset can be okay too. So as you can see, we have pretty much the exact same stuff, but I do have a different companion on here. So I've got the Sahasa Kubrow, and the reason for that is because the Sahasa Kubrow can dig up ammo with the dig ability. So you'll hear this dog barking a lot, but it's usually a good thing when it's barking because it's giving you more ammo. We show Chroma and Volt's kind of builds. They're also there to buff your ammo too, but this dog can actually give you a little bit of a buffer as well. Helmet ability right now is going to be Energized Munitions again. Again, you can run other helmet abilities like, let's say, Nourish or something, but for me, we have so much fire rate that I'm going to want to spam Energized Munitions, honestly, in these missions. So, yeah. I know, it's not like a ton of stuff about the Mirage setup, but it's really not much to go over. I didn't even change my shards for this. I've got 3 power strength shards, 1 parkour, 1 casting speed. And I've also got Matarai. You could just go like for Vazarin or something instead to keep the objective alive if you're doing a defense mission. I'm going to give you a list of all the good arbitrations too, but let's first get into the support role in these arbitration missions and how much easier it is, what you're going to want to get abilities-wise and like weapons-wise to play support in arbitrations. Okay, so here we are, very similar mission, but extremely different playstyle. So we're on the same node, but we're doing an interception instead of a defense. Now I'm going to show you how to do the meta setup right here for a interception, which is probably not the strat that a lot of you returning or new players are aware of in interception, okay? So we're going to intentionally make the interception waves take longer. Why are we doing that? To make just because the enemies aren't going to really scale as much and we're going to be able to just infinitely kill. It's basically a survival but with better spawns. So at the beginning of each interception round, split up your team, 2 teammates go to, well, depends on the tile really. For this tile, C and D, then have your support players neutralize, whatever that one is, B I think it is. Or what, I can't tell what it is. It's an A, yeah, neutralize A. Neutralize A for a few brief moments, and while you're doing that, your team will pull ahead the enemy's progress bar by about 1%. You can see on the left side of the screen, it says 6% for us, and it just became 6% for the enemy team. So we are literally ahead of them by like moments, okay? Those moments are all that we need to actually beat the mission. So we're living on the razor's edge here. You need to be clearing out these points, not having them recaptured at all, because if you do, you will lose. But the risk and reward is worth it, in my opinion. So as far as what we're doing on Wisp here, and why are we unstable light support towers, I will show you that in a second. Wisp and other frames will be the support players. We are using the Afentis Spear Gun, which comes from Call's Garrison, to buff ammo, okay? So that's going to be it's a much bigger help than you would think. At first, when I was hearing about people doing this kind of strategy, I was like, people using the Afentis, like, why aren't they shooting? I've had people use the Afentis before. They were like really lazy. We basically failed the mission. If you have people who are actually trying, Afentis buffs are very, very helpful, okay? So we're going to go ahead and show how this all works and explain how it works, and also explain specters too, because specters are an extremely important aspect of this. If you don't have them, you are going to not be as good. So as you can see in the top right corner, my Wisp is buffing everyone Bellicose 72%. Everyone's got that max power because of my amazing Wisp modes, okay? How are we going to accomplish that? I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so we're back in the sim. And as far as what we're changing on Wisp, compared to the previous videos on Wisp, it is going to be really mainly the arcane bellicose. I got some more strength shards of her too. We're all power strength shards. But I'm going to show you the real trick here to get that crazy, crazy Wisp stuff. Now, it is a team-focused build. So as you can see, we have power donation on here again. You could take out Augur Reach for a little bit more duration or strength. But as for right now, I like to have a little bit of range because not like everyone is just standing in the exact same spot all the time. With this range, we've got looks like about 6.5 meters of radius on our reservoirs. So if people are jumping around, they might not always have them active. It's not that big of a deal, but I put a little bit of range on here just to make it a little bit more convenient for me. You might notice we don't have prime sure-footed. That's because we're not spamming the Ogris as Wisp. We don't really care that much about getting knocked over. It still is annoying, but I'll take the 50% power strength over getting knocked over because we're literally not even shooting the gun for the most part. Everything else here is just to buff power strength and duration. And there's really not much else on here besides power strength and duration, honestly. So, showing how the Afentis works. Now, as you can see here, the Afentis is a spear gun, but we're not using it for damage. We're using it for support. I could literally put no mods on this build, and it wouldn't even change anything. But the big thing here, when you throw the Afentis, you get like a little bubble. Allies within that bubble get increased reload speed, fire rate, and ammo max. Also reduced recoil. Getting a kill within that bubble maintains the buff for 40 seconds. So basically, we are using this as our support ability, okay? So I throw this Afentis at my teammate who's on that life support tower in the footage because it's a good vantage point, and they are buffed with this increased ammo and all that stuff for 40 seconds. That is a huge, huge boon for them being able to spam the Ogris like crazy. Additionally, we also bring another Sahasa Kubrow for more ammo drops. You could also bring, like, a Predasite or whatever you felt like it. But Predasites don't stack. Like, Anabolic Polish does not stack. If you want to be a little bit of backup here, you could bring the Acarius Prime to get some kills from afar. But keep in mind, it is not, you will not be the one doing the DPS. The Saryn and the Mirage are the ones doing the DPS. You're there to buff them. So, show this in practice. Here's my fire rate on the Afentis. As you can see, not the best, but I throw it on my, that's my fire is the Acarius. I throw on the Afentis. You can see the fire rate is much faster, the reload is a bit better too, and the recoil is basically non-existent. So these buffs are going to help your teammates a lot with those Ogris, okay? So, as well as the rest of the stuff, now to buff yourself up, here's going to be the trick, okay? Now keep on, I'm in a solo squad right now, so it's not exactly going to be the max power, but we want to use our Zeteric or our Materai, and you want to actually call down a Nidus Specter, okay? Let's see if I can find him. I hope that's the one. So that's a Dante Specter. Okay, so we're going to find our Nidus Specter. The reason we're on Nidus Specter here is because the Nidus Specter is going to buff your power strength massively. As long as I can figure out which one it is. Another dead Dante, huh? So let's actually go over all these Specters here. So we've got the Phase Specter. I wouldn't recommend Dante. Protea is an option. Now, Protea can cast a Dispensary, which will drop ammo on the ground constantly, which can be pretty good for your Ogris spammers. I'm trying to find that Nidus Specter here. So here we go. Okay, so Nidus Specter. This is going to buff your power strength massively. So I just got that power strength buff. I get all this stuff down. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to place my motes now. 56% mote buff. If I was to kill Nidus by throwing out another Dante or something, you'll see how much weaker the motes are. There's a Set of 9 Specter. Set of 9 Specter's okay too. He'll drop ammo pads every so often. So I drop the emote now. Actually, it has to refresh the duration, it looks like. The Nidus Specter massively buffs your power strength. It's very noticeable too. So I have almost maxed out Bellicose solo. So if you were in a squad, you would definitely have that last little bit of extra strength to get your Arcane Bellicose maxed out. Additionally, with these Arcanes we have on today, you might notice there's no Molt Augmented. We are not getting kills, so we're not going to be getting Molt Augmented stacked up. So that's going to be a big thing here. Afentis comes from Call's Garrison. Get it if you don't have it. Wisp, Arcane Bellicose. Everybody on the team, get this if you don't have it, okay? And moving on to the final 2 frames here, I want to go over. We can talk about some strategy as well. Let's start with Volt. Now, again, Volt is going to be using the Afentis just like Wisp, so the exact same build in the Afentis. But the big thing here on Volt is we have the Dispensary ability from Protea. This will drop ammo for us regularly, pretty regularly. So, big power strength. Duration can work too. And the build is going to be extremely similar to the Saryn and Mirage builds, honestly. Arcane Bellicose, ad nauseum at this point. You could take out Prime Shroud if you wanted to. But yeah, power donation necessary. Shock Trooper from Volt, give everybody an electric buff, pretty nice. Big thing here is the speed buff to give everybody a movement speed buff to pick up that Vitus faster. The Dispensary is good too. You do not need do not cast Electric Shield. It's not worth it. Okay, as far as the build, that's all you got to do. And the exact same weapons, the exact same loadout as on Wisp. Okay, ammo pool on deck. So we basically drop the Dispensary, and over time it will drop ammo for us. More power strength means more extra drops. So you see, we just picked up the ammo and we're good to go. We can just keep doing that all mission long. And for Chroma, it's an extremely similar build, okay? On my Chroma, I've got the Afentis, I've got the Icarius, I've got the Praetos, just like everybody else, and I've got Chroma with maximum power. On Chroma himself, it might as well just be the exact same Volt build you just looked at, but I've got a little bit of range just to make sure I can hit my teammates with Vex Armor and Elemental Ward. So the reason Chroma is good for this is because Elemental Ward can give reload speed, and Vex Armor gives massive damage buffs. Now, the thing about Vex Armor is you need to stack it up, so on certain tile sets you can have an environmental hazard stack this up, but there are times you might need to get some Icarius kills to stack up your Vex Armor. Dispensary, just like Volt, we got a little more power strength. We got guaranteed double ammo drops with this. As far as the rest of the loadout here, again, just the same exact stuff. And let's start talking about strategy, okay? So there's Chroma. He's there to buff everybody up. You should definitely have the Toxin, also have the Toxin energy color on Chroma to give everybody a reload speed buff too with his Toxin. Very good stuff there. Now let's start talking about strategy and as far as what missions you should run for this, because not every RB is created equal, okay? You will not be getting 1,000 Vitus on an Infested Survival unless you're there for multiple days, okay? So I'm gonna hit you guys now with the best RBs in the game, so listen up. Okay. I might say I'm wrong, so just keep that in mind. The best arbitration missions in all of Warframe are as follows. So there's some that I'm not going to mention, but these are the ones I like to run. Okay, Synxia. Synxia is one of the best arbitrations in the game because you're pretty much looking at it right now. You're going to be able to get tons and tons of Vitus, easy strats, great tile set, great spawn flow, just really, really good. I believe it's also a dark sector as well, which increases the Vitus drop rate because it's a resource, technically. Next, good one, Simony. Very similar to what you're seeing right now, but I believe that one is not a infested, or is not a dark sector. Costa, another very good RB. Odin. Now, Odin is definitely in Acquired Taste, you must use the Interception neutralization method I showed at the beginning of the video for Odin. But it's basically on the Hydron tile. A really small room. You just nuke it down constantly. Very good for Vice and a very chill run. Next one, Helene. Helene and Hydron tile are nice and small. The only thing that's a little bit dangerous is the objective guy. Now, if you're doing defense versus interception, the defense objective is a operative you must protect, and they can be really dumb and die sometimes. So someone bringing Vazarin Focus Tree to keep them alive could be good, but that should definitely be like either your Chroma, your Volt, or your Wisp, because the DPS player should be focusing on killing, not on keeping an operative alive they're just really bad at their job, basically. Last couple of good notes here. Helene, Hydron, Satura. Satura is going to be one that is going to be definitely more of a method you must do for. So Satura is a Corpus defense on Pluto. But here's the thing. When you load into that Corpus defense Satura, there are 3 different tile sets it can generate. One of the tile sets is great. It's a very small map you can instantly nuke. But there's another tile that's gigantic. It's like 3 times the size of Costa. And you don't want that. So when you're doing Satura, I want your teammates to basically load in, see if it's a small tile. If it's not, leave. If it's a small tile, you stay. That kind of stuff's very important, okay? Now let's talk about a couple little extra bonus things here at the end, like life support tower stacking. So you might see in the footage that we are stacking up these life support towers from the air support charges. Why are we doing that? It's because we get a better vantage point on the enemies where they're spawning. The real meta here is that the faster you can spawn kill, the better you're doing. So as you see right there, I stacked 3 life support towers on top of each other. They have a 5-minute cooldown, but as you can see in the footage, I have a sniper right now. I am basically shooting them in their spawn with my rocket launcher. If I didn't have that life support tower, I have to find a different sniping spot for that. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, I'm not going to act like I remember exactly which landing craft it is, but it is the landing craft ability called the life support tower. So good little thing to do right here. We have the life support tower air support charge. I drop it. Hold on, medical tower en route. So basically, you're using this as a stepping stool to have a better angle. After you wait 5 minutes, you can drop another one, and preferably you drop it right on top of it, this one, to stack them up like a tower, basically, like a ladder, pretty much. So, yeah. With these methods, you will be able to get hundreds of thousands of Kuva in an hour, as long as you're doing the right missions and all that. And yeah, I try to cover as much as I could, guys, but there is a lot of stuff to go over. And a lot of it does come with experience, too. So if you're just, doing normal, chill RVs right now, don't feel bad about it. But maybe someday you can get into the more meta RVs and get tons and tons of Kuva. Or maybe even some, what are they called? Galvanized mods, too. So let me know how you guys found this video. If you found this video fun, helpful in the comments down below. I'll be live on stream right after this video goes up. We got a sponsored stream today and also Warframe farming. So yeah, see you guys next time. Let me know if you want another arbitration video at some point. But in the meantime, this should do. So see you guys next time. Peace.